Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Customize Your Success Summit. I am Tina Parker, and I'm so excited to have today with us Pam August. Pam is the former Director of Culture Activation at WestJet in Calgary, Canada, where for 14 years, she was a fierce champion and developer of people and culture as a key enabler of strategic success. Today, Pam is a trusted partner for high-performance organizations around the world through her consulting firm, Connecting Potential, that she started 4 years ago. She is a sought-after guide, coach, keynote speaker, and co-creator who knows what it takes to uncover, align, and activate the best of what organizations already are and what they want to develop into. Now, Pam has a Master of Arts in Leadership and a certification as an organization and relationships systems and brain-based coach. She brings deep insight and appreciation for what it takes to influence change and the energy and discipline needed to see it through. So I am super excited to have Pam here. So much of our background and what we love aligns with how we work with people. And I'm just excited to have her share her journey with you all of how she got to where she is and where she started. So Pam, thank you for being here with us.
Oh my gosh, Tina, thank you so much for including me. I'm just so happy to be here in conversation with you and with everyone who's listening.
Same. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I'd love to start off with you just sharing with everyone, when you were growing up, what was the definition of success that you were taught?
Oh gosh, I mean, so what I think what I was taught and what I learned weren't exactly the same thing. And through just a whole bunch of circumstances that we've all had we have our own story. My story was really, for me to be successful, it was the 3 Ps. I needed to please people. I needed to perform for people and achieve outstanding things. And I needed to do it perfectly. And I now call that like the 3 Ps of Pam. And so, you know, with those 3 Ps, success actually meant to me pressure. Like success meant that there had to be pressure or it couldn't be worthy of being success. And while I was learning and laying down these things in myself, I was actually reflecting on a story. I was in grade 4. And my grade 4 teacher wrote on my report card, Pam adds the spice that every classroom needs. I have never forgotten that statement all those years ago. And that year, there was another student in the class. This wasn't his name, but I'll call him Dan. And Dan had been held back a grade. And we had what were called double desks. I don't know if you had those where you could share a desk. We had like these double desks. And I was assigned to share a desk with Dan to help him get through grade 4. And he was doing it the second time around. And I was a little bit frustrated because it took me away from my friends and I liked to chat and all those things. But there was something in that felt really important to me. And I will never forget the day we got our final report cards. I got my report card and it had great marks. And for me, that was a bit of a double-edged sword because of the pressure that I mainly put on myself. And what excited me the most was that Dan, Dan passed grade 4. And it was just the best moment for me. And I didn't know it at the time, but that laid for me. This is what success really means to me, is doing what I can do to make someone else succeed. And it was a lot. There was a lot going on at that time, but that story to this day still stands out to me as the one.
I love that.
Yeah.
So obviously making a difference for other people has become something, and it's still to this day what you do.
Yeah.
So what does success really mean to you now, since it seems like that definition has evolved?
Yeah, it really has evolved. And I would say my whole life and my whole career, success comes from learning. I am a lifelong learner. At times, I don't get out of bed in the morning unless I get to learn something new. And thankfully that opportunity is always there. And I became really ill many years ago. Well, not many, 16 years ago, where I almost died. And I ended up with a diagnosis of Crohn's disease and was off work for 6 months. And in that time, I was so physically weak, I really couldn't do anything but lay there and reflect. And there's an author that I follow, Parker Palmer, who had written a book called Let Your Life Speak, the path to hidden inner vocation. And he talked about when your deep gladness meets the world's deep need, that's when you found it. And so I spent time reflecting on, so what's that thing for me? And what it came down to was this statement that has followed me through my whole life before I articulated it, and now is really my mantra, is that I am here and I am successful when I create learning in relationship. And that success goes into everything in my work as a leader, as a consultant, as a coach, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as being a friend to myself kind of thing, is creating learning in relationship is it. That to me is what I'm here for. And that's what success means for me.
So that diagnosis was 16 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was 4 years ago that you created your consulting firm.
Yeah.
So, and I know for a lot of people, and it was this way for me, a big pivotal moment happened and it just took some time to just try to figure out and find your footing for what you were really called into doing. So along your journey to where you are now with your consulting firm, was there a pivotal moment when you knew, hey, this is what I really need to be doing right now? This is my heart's calling.
I would say there were a few. There were a few. And where I learned to live my calling was when I worked at WestJet. And so when I got to WestJet, I was a person that had a unique background in the organization, which I thought was a great thing. And the organization did too, until I started really making them uncomfortable. And so it was tricky. Like it was more than tricky. It was difficult at times, but I found that I relished the mess, because learning doesn't happen unless there's some discomfort. Because if we're all comfortable, we don't learn. And one of my teachers in my brain gym and brain-based coaching methodology uses the word perturbation, the state of being perturbed. Perturbation, it's a real word, everyone. It's a real word. And perturbation is a wonderful state because it's where learning begins, but we avoid it like the plague. Like and now I realize after COVID, I probably shouldn't be saying that, but it was just perturbation, the state of being perturbed. And so I would say in my journey, there was this constant perturbation that kept me seeking learning as a way to deal with the challenges that I was finding myself in. Yeah. And then it started to form into a career, because I was helping people do that as individuals. And then I started helping leaders do that as leaders. And then I started helping teams do that as teams. And then I became really fascinated with this thing called culture, which is really at its core a system of learning that is always co-created, whether we pay attention to it or not. And so that happened for me within my time at WestJet. And then our youngest son was graduating high school and joining the Canadian military, the Air Force. He's a pilot in the Canadian military. And, I realized, gosh, I'm going to work till I'm 100 because I love what I do and I spend too much money. But I want the flexibility and the freedom to work with many more and different organizations and different individuals. And so that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. I love your learning, your lifelong learning journey. And that's how you and I met too, right?
It is how we met. Yeah. And it's why we connect so deeply, right?
Exactly. Because we're always looking to learn something new and continue to
and learn through the mess, learn through the mess.
It's not a clean linear thing. And people just want, what's the next step and the next step and the next, it looks like this.
It's like my wallpaper.
Exactly.
Why I love that wallpaper. Because
Yes.
that wallpaper to me is every day, it reminds me what this journey of being a human is it's always forward, never straight.
Yeah.
And there's lots of mess along the way.
And the beauty is in the mess.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
So for you, I know, so you made this transition 4 years ago to your own consulting firm.
Yeah.
And a lot of things come up and we get to recommit every day sometimes
Yeah.
to making it work. But for you, did you ever question or second guess yourself in this journey? And if so, was there something that got you back on track?
I probably second guessed myself 15 minutes ago before I jumped on this call. So the answer to that question would be yes. Right? Because I flip back and forth. I flip back and forth between believing I'm a person of impact and I'm an imposter. And
so many of us.
Right. And now as well, I've just written my first book and I'm going down the publishing path, which has brought up a whole other set of all kinds of things. And the thing that has always kept me going is this question: what am I learning through this? Always. It is, if I were to tattoo a question on my body, that would be the question. What am I learning through this? And in fact, our boys, my husband and our sons are now 23 and 21. That is the question they grew up with. And it went from, I don't know, to, oh, that question to, Mom, what I'm learning from this is this. And every time they do it, I just give myself a little high five. Yeah. And because when we can learn, we can move forward. Right?
Absolutely.
In anything. So,
and when we're not learning anything new, we're stagnant.
Yeah.
And we get stuck.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a lot of people, they just sort of get stuck in the status quo.
Yeah.
But, and sometimes they feel like, oh, there's got to be something better. There's got to be something else out there for me. Sometimes it's just learning something different, changing your perspective, right? You don't have to necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like sometimes just those little incremental changes and learning something that expands your mind has such a profound experience for you.
Yeah. And I found it's been really just in all the different individuals and teams and organizations and community groups that I work with, at the core, we are all wired to learn.
Yes.
Right. We actually have to get in the way of ourselves not to.
And some of us do a good job of getting in our own way.
Yeah. That's another conversation. My cycle on that's much shorter now, thankfully.
Yes.
But it is, though, it is a condition that we all share. And it's been just a really, I view the work I do with organizations and the folks I work with as an invitation to learn. And it's an invitation that people are happy to accept until they realize how challenging it really is, but then they're already in it, so we're good.
Right, like you're here, may as well get going.
It's already happening. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I'd love to know your perspective too. You said you've written your book, you're going through the publishing.
Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself in that whole thing? Because that can be pretty a confronting experience. And
yeah, it's one of those, and it's funny. My husband, he asked me about this early on in when I was writing the manuscript, and he said, "Pam, you speak in front of hundreds and thousands of people, and you work all over the place and all of that." And I said, "Yeah, but there's something about that it happens in the moment and then it's done, versus writing this piece of work, pouring everything I am in. This isn't it, but just into this book." And then going, "Here, world, take it."
Yeah.
Just, it challenged me in ways I never imagined it would. And then an interesting thing happened in the process is my book let me know what it wanted to be. And all I had to do was just keep getting words on a page. And that might sound a bit out there,
but it's just coming out of you.
But it's actually what happened. And then at every stage in the process. So then you're like, oh, manuscript. Yeah, I did that. Then it was going into the editorial process. And now I'm going into the publishing process. And at every level, it's really it's asking me, like this book is asking me, so who do you want to be in the world? Because when I'm out there, you can't take it back.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. I'm so glad you shared that because, I've just started down that pathway, and you're
Yeah.
right. It keeps changing and the question keeps coming up and you get to reevaluate and reassess. And yeah. And once it's out there, it's out there.
Oh yeah. And it's 1 minute, I'm a person of impact. And then the next minute it's like, I'm an imposter. Who do you think you
I
are?
know.
Right?
What am I doing? What am I doing?
And then I ask myself, what are you learning through this? And I get back on track.
See, and that's brilliant, right? That's what you need to get your heart back in the
Totally.
right space. And I think all of us go through that. And thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people, they see someone maybe like you who said, I'm starting my own consultancy firm, I'm writing my own book, I'm out there, and they think, oh, she's got it all together. And who am I? I will never be able to do that. And that's just not the case. Everyone has their gifts that they bring to the world, and you get to craft your journey, and you've created your journey, but it's not been, like we said, a direct straight line.
No, oh gosh.
It never is going to be for anyone.
Oh, no. And I was just one of the leaders that I'm coaching right now today. He was talking about, being more inspirational. And I said, so what does that mean for you? And what he said was so profound. He said, it means connecting the dots and letting people know their contributions matter. I'm like, oh, okay. So we could call that inspiration, or we could call it what you call it for you, because that's how you lead. Right?
Exactly.
It's not about the oration and the this and the that. And it was just as simple as, when I connect the dots and let people know their contributions matter, that's what inspires them.
Yeah.
And the way it was just a really, and at the end he said to me, he goes, Pam, thank you for acknowledging that. And I'm just like, but that's who you are, and you're awesome. So why would I not acknowledge that?
Right. And a lot of the times though, we don't see that in ourselves the way others can see it in us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So how beautiful for him to have that reflection from you and to go, yeah, that's who I am. That's how I love to lead.
Yeah. And it was
So lovely.
That was great.
I love that. And so for people that are wanting to carve their own path and customize their own success, what do you think is most important for them to focus on?
Oh, I one of the things too is I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a yoga practitioner. So when I got really sick 16 years ago, I had been like an aerobics instructor in the 80s into 90s. And then I was a competitive bodybuilder for a decade. And so fitness and movement's always been a thing, but it's always been kind of like my energy right now. And then when I got sick, it was like a voice said, from above, quit the gym, go to yoga. And so I started practicing yoga and became a teacher, and it really grounds me. And so I bring yoga metaphors into a lot of things I do. And so I would say for people, what matters more than anything is you align at your core. Because just right now, when our spine and our core is in alignment, we can move left and right. We can turn left and right. We can, cat and cow, and we can move all these different parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
But when the spine is out of alignment, just a little bit, it's hard to move.
Yeah.
And so alignment in the context of, who are you when you are at your best? What are the 3 words that describe you?
Yes.
As you look forward to who you want to be in the world, what are the 3 words then? Right? And quite likely there'll be at least 2 or 3 the same words, and there might be one that's different. And then, okay, so you got those 3, like aligning at your core, that's you, move that forward. And then as you're going, kind of, coming back to the gym metaphor, what's the one muscle that you might want to develop a bit more that still connects to your core?
Right. That's still aligned with those core words who you want to create.
Yeah. So it is this aligning at the core. And the same goes, I use the same metaphor when I work with teams, when I work with cultures in organizations, right? Because the goal is, and I believed a lot of my life that The goal was to be someone else or something else. And I've come to know, no, the goal is to move forward the best of who I am while developing into the best that I can be. And I believe the same is true for all of us.
Yes.
Right? And it can start with 3 things, right? Just what are the 3 things?
Your 3 words, and
Yeah.
aligning your actions, your attention and your intention,
Yeah.
your actions align with that core of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And years ago, a pilot at WestJet, he was actually the VP of flight operations. We are as different can be. I was terrified of him, right? And I'm pretty sure, I actually know he was terrified of me as well. And it was we were coming up to the holidays, and it was right before we were leaving for Christmas. And he came up and he had a little card and a little gift for me, which completely surprised me. I honestly didn't even know he knew my name. Like, it was one of those kind of things. And I opened the card, and I still have this card sitting on my desk. And the card said, "Thank you for being you and for letting me be me." And we were as different could be, but we aligned in appreciating that difference.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I just realized as I said that, it's like when we can appreciate difference in others, we can appreciate the different parts of us.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely. It's in that connection, right? Going back to the connection that your client was talking about, because like Brene Brown, when she talks about connection, it's the energy that's created when you're seen, heard, and valued, and can contribute and receive without judgment.
Yeah, like we all have the need to matter, which is contribute something of substance and know that we're significant along the way. Which substance and significance are 2 words that I found in my Google search of what does the word matter mean. Those are 2 words. Matter is something of substance and significance. So when those 2 conditions, when we can say, hey, what I'm doing is of substance, and I know I'm significant as I do it, I matter, I think that's when really great things can happen. And they do happen.
And they do happen. Yes. Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you, Pam, so much. I know that the folks listening to this have taken away so many good nuggets. I have, so I know they have.
Oh, I hope so. Because I know the second this is over, I'll do what I do. I go into things. Yeah, I can do this. And I'm in them. And then we finish this thing and I go, wow. But thankfully that cycle is a lot shorter than it used to be. So,
well, and that's the thing. It's just progress, right?
It's all learning.
We are who we are, but when we can shorten that cycle between this was amazing, oh shoot, what just happened? What's the next thing?
Yeah.
We become more successful in alignment with who we really are.
Right. And that, actually, if I think about it, what you just said there, Tina, is that success is being in alignment. Right? The more we can move through the world where the inside and the outside are working together.
Yep.
It's powerful.
Absolutely. And we create space for others to do the same when we can embody that.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, so good. Thank you so much, Pam. This was awesome. I can't wait for everyone to hear this. And I just appreciate you.
I am so grateful for our connection and the work you're doing in the world.
Same for you. All right, everyone. Take care. We'll see you later.